Fantastic start to the NBA playoffs on Saturday. We're going to see if we can keep it going here on Sunday, April the 21st. I had two best bets yesterday for my clients, Cavaliers and Minnesota T-Wolves, both won and covered easily. I also gave you both of those free here in this video on Saturday. Also gave you a series recommendation. Told you the sharp money was on the New York Knicks in that 7-game series against Philly. That was a sharp square divide. Knicks got off to the 1-0 lead as well in that series. So nice day on Saturday. Let's see if we can keep it going Sunday. I'm going to break down all 4 Sunday NBA playoff games free for you with analysis here in just a moment. Hi, this is Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com, back here on WagerTalk TV, and we are talking about the next 4 games. The final 4 game ones of round 1 here go this Sunday, and we start off in start time order as always, 1 o'clock Eastern. The biggest mismatch in round 1, and this point spread is sure showing it in game 1. Boston Celtics, a whopping 14-point favorite over the Miami Heat in such a difficult scheduling spot for Miami. Quick turnaround after the must-win Friday night at home without Jimmy Butler. Travel on 1 day's rest to face the Boston Celtics, who they knocked out of the playoffs last year. Keep in mind, though, Miami is the underdog, won the first 3 games against the Celtics. Boston stormed back to win the next 3, and then Miami got Game 7 on their way to a finals in which they eventually lost to the Denver Nuggets. Miami was an 8 seed last year. They snuck in the play-in round. They're doing it again this year, but now they're once again without Jimmy Butler for the foreseeable future, probably this entire series. And this is a big task. I don't think it's a question who's going to win this game. The question becomes, can they win by more than 14? In fact, Boston is 1-10, minus 1,000 on the money line. Sure, you could tie them up in some money line parlays with maybe some Sunday baseball, get that price down a bit. And I do think the Celtics win game 1, but obviously the odds makers have inflated this price. They've done a pretty good job, too, because the public sentiment is pretty neutral in this game. We've seen very little movement. Also, the total over-under is set at 209 from the opener, and it remains there on Sunday morning. As far as Jimmy Butler on off the court, he is a very important player. Defensively, the numbers are about the same for Miami, but they're about 7 points per 100 possessions weaker offensively, and that's the difference. They're also about 3 percentage points effective field goal percentage weaker. Butler is an important part of the offense against a Mammoth Boston Celtic team who's been very strong this season. Keep in mind, though, Boston clinched the number 1 East about 2-3 weeks ago. They clinched the number 1 overall about a week and a half ago. So they have been off for a bit. So could that Miami momentum carry? We saw it last year in the playoffs in general. We've seen it a lot in the NCAA tournament. You know, those play-in round teams from the first 4 games often advance. We also saw NC State do it this year, winning the 5 straight in the conferences to make it, and then making all the way to the Final Four. UConn, the only other team to do that, won the whole thing in 2011. So this really comes down to momentum versus talent. Boston has the talent, but Miami does have the momentum in game 1. Hey, do you think they can stay within the 14? Comment below and let me know your thoughts on this one. It's your early tip-off here at 1 o'clock Eastern. All right, let's look at a much more competitive game at 3:30 Eastern, also on ABC National TV Sunday, and that's Dallas and the Clippers. Another one of those situations where the lower-seeded team, the 5-seed Mavs, are actually favored in game 1 on the road, and also favored to win the series. In fact, Dallas currently all the way up to minus 160. Earlier this week, it was minus 140. Even saw it open as low as minus 130. So there has been some money on Dallas. I think both public and sharp money. Kawhi Leonard is listed as questionable. It looked like he was going to be out. He is questionable with the knee injury. He's the real X factor in this series. I've said for a few weeks now that the the Harden honeymoon factor, is over. LA was the best team in the league in January and February for a while, for about a 6-week span after that trade with Philly, but then they really started to turn things around and start playing down and very below average basketball the last month or so. Injuries have hurt them. They pretty much have everybody back. Leonard, though, is the big question mark, and he's such a playoff performer. He won that title with the Toronto Raptors, and he's a great defensive player. That's where Harden is so overrated. No defense. There's no D in Well, actually, there is a D in Harden. Isn't that ironic? But Kawhi Leonard's the guy that steps up in the postseason. We really need to know about his health. And I think that's why this series price is rising. I would not disagree with the Mavericks on the series. It's getting a little pricey now at minus 160, but I think they're a dangerous team. Some of you were watching the NBA show earlier this week. Some of you commented they have a 7-1 ticket on them to win the West. I think whoever wins this series, Dallas or the Clippers, could make a run in the West and be that dark horse because they avoid Minnesota/Phoenix and Denver until the finals. They only have to play one of them in the finals because they would get Oklahoma City most likely in the next round. And OKC, although a good team, is definitely a soft number 1 seed because they don't have a lot of playoff experience. And I do think Dallas gets by in this series. But once again, it's a little hefty of a price. It's obviously factored in with them as a 2.5-point road favorite here in game 1. Public also leaning a little bit to the Mavs, so they do look like a little bit of a public side here. Over-under has dropped quite a bit, 227 down to 223. We see the unders did quite well in the play-in round. In fact, 4 of the 6 games went under. One of them went over by just a point. Otherwise, it would have been 5-1 to the under. And we did see it kind of go back and forth on Saturday. We saw a very low-scoring game one between Cleveland and Orlando. Those were two of the best defensive, slowest teams in the league. Two really good defensive teams. That's not necessarily the case with these teams, but often the case NBA playoff games are lower scoring, and we've seen 4 points come to the under in this one between the Mavs and Clippers at 3:30 Eastern. All right, 2 more games on the nighttime card. Those are your 2 ABC daytime games. The 2 nighttime games are both on TNT. Going to get to those in a moment. Just a quick reminder, off to a great start in the NBA playoffs on Saturday. Perfect 2-0 sweep with the Cavaliers and the Timberwolves for my clients, both double-digit easy winners. And it's not a surprise. I'm ranked number 1 overall this year in Units 1 in the NBA, and I'm number 1 all-time in the history of WagerTalk.com in Money 1 in the NBA, regular season and postseason combined. And the NBA playoffs have made up a large part of those profits. The last 30 years since I've been doing this as a full-time professional, I've always said the NBA playoffs are the most consistent moneymaker year after year, and we got off to a 2-0 sweep. Perfect start on Saturday. Get my strongest best bet for Sunday right now on my page, Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com. Get the single play right now for $25, or get a 10-day for just $99, and that includes all my baseball as well. Here's the deal. 7-day all sports, $99, and we're including 3 more bonus days for free, but that expires tonight on Sunday. This is your last day, your last chance to get the 10 days for just $99, and that's not only my number 1 ranked basketball, but all baseball as well for the next week and a half. Check it out, Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com, and don't forget about those daily free plays on my page as well. All right, let's look at your 2 nighttime games at 7 o'clock Eastern, Indiana at Milwaukee. Another situation where the lower seed, the 6th seed here, is the road favorite, 1.5 to 2-point favorite, and that's because Giannis has been downgraded to doubtful. It looks like he will not go in this game, but Damian Lillard is probable, and I think he's healthier. He didn't really push himself, he said, in the season finale last week. He's returned slowly to the lineup over the past week or so, and I think he will be the difference maker in this game. Also, the Indiana Pacers looking like the most public side of the 4 games, so I always like to give you the public sentiment indicators whenever possible, and they do look pretty public here. And I think this is a situation where fading the public does make some sense. Milwaukee lost 6 of their 8 down the stretch, back-to-back losses. Indiana, meanwhile, won 4 of their final 5. So 2 teams heading in opposite directions, and because of that, along with the injury, we now get the wrong team favorite. Milwaukee would have been a substantial favorite, healthy in good current form, probably a 4, 5, maybe 6-point favorite a few weeks ago. Now they're a 1.5 to 2-point home dog. This is a drastic over-adjustment, and I like the value with Milwaukee. Now, Giannis is a very important player. There's no question about it. If you look at the numbers on and off the court, though, Bucks have only been a little bit weaker defensively, but they've been a lot weaker offensively. So for Milwaukee to have some success here, it's probably not going to be a shootout, and that's important because Indiana's one of the highest scoring, fastest paced teams in the league, but they also give up over 50% shooting from the field this season in all road games. Milwaukee's not great defensively, but they only allow 47% shooting, but at home, they give up less than 46%. So I do look for more defensive focus with Giannis out of the lineup, a little less scoring. They're going to have to win with defense, and we've seen a monster move on this over-under. Opened as high as 239.5, now down to 231.5. I even see some 231s out there as well. I agree with the under. I still think there's some wiggle room. It's a big move, but once again, Giannis is a big blow offensively being out, and this does set up as more of a defensive battle. And if Milwaukee slows it down and plays better defense, I think that favors the home dog as well. So Milwaukee is a live dog in this game, and that would also translate to the series price. They're actually an underdog plus 115 in the series, and Giannis could be back in a couple games. So I think you could split some of Milwaukee, also some of Milwaukee's series price. Both make sense. I think there's a value with them at plus money. They're still the better team, and Giannis could be back sooner than later. All right, 1 game to go. It's your late game tonight at 9:30 Eastern tonight. The last game between New Orleans and Oklahoma City, 1 versus 8. Pelicans, just like the Heat, had to win Friday night to get in, and they're without a superstar. Zion Williamson remains out. Very impressive showing without Zion. But keep in mind, the Sacramento Kings, a flawed team. Oklahoma City now the 1 seed. But Oklahoma City is a young 1 seed, as I mentioned earlier in the video. This is a Oklahoma City Thunder team that only has 3 players that has ever played on this squad in the playoffs. SGA is one of them way back, I believe, in the 2020 season was the last time they qualified. So this is a young team. New Orleans doesn't have a lot of experience either. Zion Williamson, though, might be a little more overrated than people realize. Now, look, he's a good player. He put up 40. They probably beat the Lakers had he stayed healthy in that game with 3.5 minutes to go. But if you look at the numbers with him on and off the court, they've actually been better statistically in certain categories without him. In fact, on the court, they get off the court rather, they score about 2 points more per game, and they give up about 3 to 4 points less per game. That's right. They score more and they give up less with Zion off the court. They're also 8-5 straight up without him this season, so they have found ways to win. They played without him a ton last year. 2 years ago, he was out the entire year. Effective field goal percentage is about the same with him on or off the court, but they're actually a little bit better defensively once again. So that's something to keep an eye on here. Oklahoma City Thunder having a great season. This line's gone from 7.5 up to 8.5. Total's also risen from 214.5 up to 215 in many spots. Once again, this is just like that Miami-Boston game. It's momentum versus the better team. Which one wins out? It's tricky. We don't have a lot of track history here in the last several years, is all we've had this play-in game. So we don't have a lot of these 7-8 teams to look at. We did see Miami make that run last year. The Lakers did it as well in the past. So once again, they could be live here in Game 1, especially if Oklahoma City comes a little flat with lack of playoff experience. The difference with that Boston-Miami series is that Boston has much more pedigree, more experience, and they were eliminated by Miami last year. Not saying Oklahoma City won't be focused, but they do enter here off of 5 straight wins, 4 straight covers. So could they perhaps maybe overlook them a little bit? It's always possible, but I would expect them to bring their A game here. The only thing is that we're getting an inflated line because Zion is out. And once again, the Pelicans have actually at times been better without him in the lineup this season. So it's a little misleading. Oklahoma City beat them in the most recent meeting by 7 on the road on March 26th. The other 2 games were much earlier in the season. They won easily by 24 in January and lost by 4 way back in November 1st. So the 2 more recent meetings, OKC has owned it. But keep in mind, New Orleans was the 7th seed coming into the postseason or the play-in round, but they had the 6th best scoring differential in the entire league. This is a dangerous team, and New Orleans has also been better on the road this season than at home. They're 28-14 straight up on the road. That's right, 28-14 straight up, and they were only the 7th seed coming into the postseason. So they are a dangerous team, but it's a tough scheduling spot, and they are shorthanded. But this should be a good series. I'm not sure the Pelicans can get Game 1, but I do think they pick up a game maybe here or there. I don't think this one's going to be a sweep. As far as the series price here, OKC is about minus 650, one of the bigger favorites, the second biggest favorite after Boston, who's, by the way, minus 8,000. That's 80-1. Take back 18-1. So not much value in those 2 series prices. But I do think New Orleans has a chance a little bit more so than Miami. All right, that's a quick breakdown of the 4 games. I'm going to keep doing this each and every day of the playoffs for the next 2 months. If you're finding it useful, do me a couple favors. First of all, comment below. Let me know if you want to see these daily videos. I'll keep doing them. Let me know who you like in Sunday's games, sides, and totals. And throw in some player props. We're going to dig into more of those as the playoffs go on and the series becomes shorter, less games. But player props are great value. I know many of you do quite well. Include some analysis if you have time as well. Let's learn and earn and win together here on WagerTalk TV. I honestly believe we have the sharpest and smartest sports bettors on the internet watching right here. Thumbs up, like, as well is greatly appreciated. And don't forget, hit subscribe and click the bell as well so you never miss these free play videos when they go up each and every day during the playoffs. I also do baseball videos throughout the week. Click the bell when you subscribe for this free content. And once again, if you want my strongest NBA playoff best bet for Sunday, perfect 2-0 sweep on Saturday, both easy double-digit winners. Let's do it again on Sunday. Get my top play right now for just $25 or get the next 10 days of basketball and baseball, all sports, for just $99. No promo code needed, but that offer expires on Sunday, last day, last chance tonight to get it. Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com. Get there quicker with shortcut WT.buzz/SM. You can also get free plays every day on my page as well. Check out those bonus free plays. Follow me on Twitter for free plays as well, at Steve Merril, 2 R's, 1 L, at Steve Merril on Twitter and X. And also post free plays throughout the week on Instagram. Follow me on IG along with WagerTalk. And stay tuned right here to WagerTalk TV for more great content free for you coming up next.